Hello and welcome. My name is Steve Sexton. I'm your host, and this is the Silver-Haired Tsunami Show. Currently, there's over 100 million people in the United States over the age of 50. This demographic will have a profound effect on economics for decades to come, whether it be travel, technology, finances, real estate. The Silver-Haired Tsunami Show is focused on educating, getting the people important information that they need to know in order to manage the changing tides of retirement. On today's show, we have Eran Sinai. He's a Chief Operations Officer for Consumer Guardian Law. He's going to help us understand the biggest scams are being perpetrated on seniors nowadays and how to stop them. You know what? In retirement, there's a whole new world when it comes to getting a mortgage. We have Jonathan Jerotz. He's the Senior Vice President of Retail Sales at Synergy One Lending, and he's going to shed some light and educate us and help us create a plan. So if we're looking at that mortgage after we retired, we're going to be able to get it. And then in our Spotlight segment, we have Don Wells. Don is the Executive Director of Just in Time for Foster Youth. They focus on helping foster kids after they've essentially been kicked out of their foster homes. And, you know, they do wonderful things. We have a wonderful show for us. Stick with us. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. You know what? In 2016, technology, a little ingenuity, people's belief in others, and people's need to help others has created a wonderful environment for scammers to scam seniors. We have Eran Sinai. He's the Chief Operations Officer for Consumer Guardian Law Group. They focus on helping people with identity theft and many others. He's here today to talk to us about the top scams that are affecting seniors. Eran, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
This is a dynamic, I say dynamic because it's getting larger and larger and more people are getting taken advantage of it just because of people are very creative. And could you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so basically new statistics shows that about every 2 seconds, there's a new identity fraud victim, okay? Which means it could be either credit card stolen, debit card, transaction through the bank, PayPal, anything like that, every 2 seconds. Last year, there were billions and billions of dollars lost in revenue from people committing fraud. Identity theft victims it is about 17 to 19 people per minute having their identity stolen. So you can do the math and see how many people that means. And those are people that actually report. Some people don't even report, so we don't know the real numbers. So it is a real, unfortunately, I don't want to call it phenomena, but it is a really bad explosion of the technology basically caused here for the good and for the bad.
You know what, I've had clients as a financial professional where identity theft has essentially short-circuited their retirement. And a lot of times it's just a matter of them not understanding what was being perpetrated on them at the time.
Yeah.
So what are the type of things that people need to look out for? What's going on?
Well, especially, let's talk especially what seems to be the most vulnerable community are the eldest community, retirees, and people of that age. And you talked about, it's funny that you mentioned financial abuse. That, believe it or not, the number 7 in the top 10 scams targeting our nation's seniors, number 7 is elder abuse. People that take advantage of the elderly community, the seniors, and scamming them off money that they have worked all their life to save. Another thing, and we talked about it before the show, grandparent scam.
Yep.
Calling you, someone is calling and saying, oh, get an email, grandma saying, Grandma, I'm stuck here, I have no money, could you do me a favor, send money to this and that. Grandmothers fall for it. That happens on the phone. Another thing that happened, obviously, identity theft. The number 1 state, believe it or not, with identity theft is Florida. Number 2, Arizona. Number 3 is California. So we are right on the top 3 here with identity theft cases in the nation. Computer tech, robocalls, which is the unwanted calls. And you know what? Believe it or not, number 2, and I'll get to the number 1 in a second, but number 2 is still the sweepstakes scams.
How do the
Believe
sweets
it or
say,
not.
how do they work?
People are still waiting for Ed
McMahon?
McMahon to show up at the door with a big check. But you get all those notices that you've won something, somebody left you something. Just go in here, click on this link, or we need to send you, and they'll send you a check, and they'll say that deposit that check, and we just need the fees for clearing, and you'll deposit the check, you'll wire them whatever amount they ask you. Guess what? Your check that you deposited has no basis, and you're out of that money. Or they'll ask you for your account number so they can wire you the money. And there are still people out there that will give the account number. You'll be amazed how many people even still give their social security number on the phone.
Yeah.
You know? And I think the most concerning is obviously, and the number one in the scams that targeting our nation seniors are the IRS impersonation scams. We talked about it a little while ago that while people were filing for taxes, people were getting calls that you need to file now and give us information, we'll help you, and people were doing that or stealing it between the time period until they were filing. Now there's a take two for that. And take two for that is now seniors are getting phone calls saying, that's about the tax return that you did file, we need some more information. We need to verify certain information, and people fall for it. So I want to tell you, the IRS is not going to call you that you're missing information. The IRS is not going to call you to tell you that you need to pay online. The IRS is not going to call you that you owe money. They may, but it's going to take many more letters before they even call you.
The big thing there that people need to understand is they're going to send you a letter.
Absolutely.
I've had this happen to clients of ours where they've actually called in to us and say, hey, the IRS called me and said, I owe this much money. I said, it's not the IRS. Hang up on them. Yeah. In fact, one of my clients called my office and got me on the line, and I told the guy, you're not the IRS because they don't do this, and he hung up immediately.
Of course.
So that happens a lot. Now, you're telling me that there's a scam now that they say, hey, you filed your tax return, but now in order for us to send you your money, we need to verify your checking account number.
Checking account number, we need to verify, is your social, can you repeat your social so we can verify, or can you give us your debit card that we can put money into your account? We need to confirm your credit card, your debit card, your banking information, and they will get information from people left and right.
And the most important thing for people to know is this: the IRS never calls you, they send you letters.
Absolutely. You will never get a call that you won money. Your uncle in Africa, wherever that is, did not leave you any money. So
the Nigerian scam is what that's called.
Exactly.
And you know what? The big one, and it's still perpetrating, is, and it happened to my grandmother, where the person called and said, you know what? She thought it was my brother that got a DUI, was in jail, and needed to get bailed out. And she actually called my dad to say, hey, what's going on? And he called my brother, who was in a board meeting for his company, and they got him out and said, I'm fine. But it happens all the time. And the reality is she thought it was my brother calling.
And I always say to people, when you get an email and it looks like it's from your bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, it could be any bank or any financial institution telling you, look, we're missing some information, or your address has been changed. So you really be careful because someone changed your address. If it's not you, click on this link. Do not click on any link. Hover over it first. See where it's coming from. And then if it's from your bank, call your bank and verify and ask them, is there anything problem? Is there a problem in my account? Don't click from emails that you get on the links.
Okay, so when you say hover over it, how do you hover over it?
You take your mouse of the computer and hover over where the link is.
Okay.
And on the side of the mouse, it will show a little bit what the entire link is, and you'll be able to tell
if it's not Wells Fargo.
That it's not Wells Fargo.
That's
and if you're not
tip.
sure, call your bank. Don't click on anything because they'll get into your computer, they'll install some malware, and you're done.
You know what, Eran, thank you for enlightening our viewers on this subject. Hey, you know what? If you would like to get this download our white page on all these scams, you can go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website. On the screen here is the Consumer Guardian Law Group's website and phone number. If you'd like to get some information, or you realize you're a victim of identity theft, that's what Eran's company does. They could help you with that. But the most important thing is to understand, especially if it's the IRS, they're never going to call you. They're always going to send you a letter. So thanks for being with us, Eran.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Stick with us. We'll be back with you in a moment. Hey, welcome back. You know what? Once you're retired, it's Goodbye tension, hello pension. You know what, when we are retired, we typically have income streams coming from Social Security, pensions, or rental properties. But that could create a problem because now you're retired and you have to live off the assets that you created before you retire, and you might not have enough income to actually qualify for a mortgage or refinancing or buying that resort property, that second home. So what we've done is we've brought in Jonathan Jerotz. He's the Vice President of Retail Sales for Synergy One Lending. And now a special announcement, he is the new mortgage voice for the San Diego Padres, as heard on radio there. JJ, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Padres, that's cool.
Looking forward to it. I'm a big baseball fan, so it makes me very excited.
Oh, yeah. That's just great. Now, we're finding out more and more, and we've talked about this before, and we've actually helped out people that have been in a situation where they might not be able to retire, not retire, but get a mortgage in retirement because of the new rules and regulations. Yeah. Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest things, we're talking about people that are transitioning, right?
Yep.
Transitioning from that income stream from a job into more of a fixed income situation when you retire. The pension, the Social Security benefits, maybe an annuity income type income stream. So you have to plan ahead. People forget all the mortgage changes. Maybe you got a mortgage in 2002 and you didn't have to do much to get that, and you kind of expect the same thing in 2016. And as we know, things are a lot different now. So the preparation is really, you just got to think about it. You have to think about, okay, where do I sit now? I'm making my income, but I'm going to be retiring. What's my income going to be looking like? I'm going to have Social Security coming in. I get this much from a pension. I have this much coming from here. I have some assets. So the key is just to make sure that you can do what you want to do. But the cool thing is, I'm going to share some light on different ways of qualifying, because people don't know that you can use your assets to set up an income stream to qualify for a mortgage. And that's what I want to shed the light on.
That's great information. But one of the big things that we realize, and even the people who do planning or help people create a plan like I do, we look at making sure people spend, you're paying taxes on the money you're spending. If you're not spending it, you're being inefficient because you're paying taxes on money you're not spending.
Yes.
So it's contrary to what people look at in retirement, especially with these new regulations that they have to follow. So, you know what, please share with that. Help us plan.
Yeah, definitely. So one way to qualify, let's say you have liquid assets, and this is called asset depletion. Now, people hear the word depletion and they think we're using the money. We're not using the money. We have an account, it's got $1 million in it, and it's liquid. We can draw on it whenever we want to, but you don't. You have it there, it's building for you. So for qualifying purposes for a mortgage, you can actually take that money, and from an underwriting perspective, we're going to look at it at 100% of value. We're going to divide it by 360 payments if you're doing a 30-year loan. It's going to give you an income stream of about $27.77 a month. So if you need added income and you're looking to qualify for a mortgage and you're having a problem, you got to look at that sort of situation. Now, let's say those same assets are non-liquid assets. Maybe they're 401k or an IRA, something like that. We're going to take 70% of those assets, Steve, and now divide by 360. So it's going to shrink it to about 1944. So it lowers the amount. But one of the biggest tricks that I have, and it's not a trick, it's
just knowing the rules.
It's knowing the rules, it's knowing the regulations, and knowing the guidelines most of all. But it's setting up a distribution. Like you stated, you don't want to take money if you're not using it. Why pay taxes on something if you're not using it? So if you can set up an income stream distribution on a monthly basis, I figure out, hey, what do you need to qualify for what you're looking to do? And we set up that monthly distribution. Now, depending on the type of loan you're doing, maybe you need to get it going ahead of time. Maybe you need 3, 4 months, 5 months of distribution. But sometimes just for a conventional loan, all you really need is 1 or 2 months. So you can make it happen pretty quickly.
So what you're saying is if my monthly income from pensions and Social Security and stuff like that is only say $4,000, but I need $7,000, I can create a distribution stream for 2 or 3 months to show that I'm having that going into my checking account every single month and qualify for a loan.
That's right.
So the smart way to plan is actually to sit down with somebody like yourself who understands these rules and knows how the Monopoly game's played and say, hey, what do I really need to do to qualify, as opposed to filling out an application and then figuring it out and then realizing it's not going to work.
That's right. Exactly. You have to plan for these things, and you have to know the numbers. I mean, sometimes I'll even help people before they file their taxes, right? Just to say, hey, you know what? If you're self-employed, you got to.
I actually had to do that one last year.
You got to figure out how much you need to show to file to qualify for what you're looking to do. So it's the same thing when you're transitioning from the working environment into the fixed income environment of retirement, which we all look forward to doing. But you have to properly plan for that. And sometimes all it takes, sometimes you need 4 or 5, 6 months. Sometimes you only need a month or two to kind of create that distribution stream.
So just talking about that, so if somebody's looking at a resort or a second home, are they looking at 6 months to qualify, or are they looking at?
It's really going to be dependent on the loan type. So if we get into the jumbo loan, so depending on how much you're looking to borrow, and we're looking at jumbo money, that's when you're going to need a longer distribution.
So jumbo
channel.
money is how much?
You want 5 or 6 months.
Okay, how much what's a jumbo loan?
Well, in San Diego County here, $587.50. It's different across the country.
Almost $600,000. You're going to want to get prepared. It's going to take a little bit longer, but for a lower amount, it'd just be a few months. So if you sat down with your financial professional or even your tax professional, after you talk with somebody like yourself, you can understand what you need to do in order to get that loan that you need. And then as long as you can, qualify and make the payment, you could obviously compress the amount that you spend and thereby not paying too much in taxes.
Exactly. And I think that's the key. You only take what you need to get your mortgage. You're not oversaturating your income. So at the end of the year, you have this tax obligation. And that's where we have to be financially and fiscally smart.
Well, I agree with you, because you never, ever want to have not enough money left.
That's right, exactly.
I couldn't even say it because it doesn't come out.
You got to keep it in there as long as you possibly can. And I think, it all goes back. I mean, it's really just properly preparing, for the future. And the mortgage space, you have to know what to do. And that's just talking to the right people, Steve.
JJ, thanks for being here. Hey, if you would like to get a hold of JJ and get a white page on this, just go to our website at the Silver Hair Tsunami, or you can see JJ's information at the bottom of the screen. You can contact him directly, and he'll help you, because he's the guy who knows. He knows how to play the Monopoly game of mortgages. More importantly, you want to look out for him, because he's going to be a voice on Potteries Radio. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Steve, and this is my wife Amy. We just had our solar panels installed by Baker Electric. Living out here in the East County, the temperatures can be in the mid-70s to over 100.
We didn't know a lot about solar. Speaking with our solar consultant, he was there to answer any of our questions that we had. He was always there when we needed him.
I think the fact that Baker does go in-house with their employees, everyone is very professional and very polite, and they're on budget. We couldn't have gone with a better company.
Hello and welcome back. In our Spotlight segment, we're spotlighting the Just in Time for Foster Youth charity. Today we have Don Wells. Don Wells is the executive director. Now, one of the big things that people don't know about charities, or didn't think about charities, is when we talked with Paula Shaw last week on the show, she talked about people having a new identity because they've lost their job identity when they get into retirement. And a lot of times people have, decades and decades worth of skills and abilities, and they want to pass it on. So they look at certain charities. One of the charities that will enable you to pass on those skills is Just in Time for Foster Youth. We have Don Wells. Don, thanks for joining us. You're the executive director.
I am.
Yes, you are. Yes. Now, tell us a little bit about Just in Time for Foster Youth, how it got started.
Well, Just in Time actually mobilizes the community, so this is perfect for what you're talking about. We mobilize the community as extended family for youth who are aging out of the foster care system. If you think about your own children when they turn 18, would they have been able to go out into the world and make their lives work without any support from you anymore, or without anybody that they can count on? Your own children can't do that with all the preparation that you've done for them leading up to that 18th birthday. And for a long time, foster youth were leaving the foster care system at 18 without any help. A little bit of money, maybe some transitional housing, but they were going out completely unprepared to deal with the world. And what we try to do is create connections and community for them so that they have an extended family that's there to help them get over all of those crises and those unexpected things that happen for any young person.
Well, you know what, even more so for the foster youth, because my understanding is most of the kids are put into a foster home, and the people, and not to make them bad people or anything, but the people who are doing the foster care, they're getting paid every single month for that, right?
Right.
And then when they're 18, basically there's no more money, so essentially they're leaving.
So the real problem, I think, is that the foster care system was designed as a temporary solution. So there's something going on in your family, a crisis, so they take you out of your family, and then either your family gets better and you go back, or you get adopted, and it's supposed to be a temporary thing. But what happens is that young people go into the foster care system often for 18 years, for 16 years, even for 5 years. That's a long time to be in a situation that's supposed to be temporary. And what happens, and this is what we believe, and this goes to your point about volunteers working with us. The big problem that we see for foster youth is that they're disconnected. First, they get disconnected from their own families. Then once they go into foster care and get moved around, they don't form connections. And human beings don't do well if they're disconnected. You can give people all the resources in the world, but if they're isolated, they're disconnected. And for young people, if they don't learn the skills they need to function in the world, they don't learn how to navigate relationships. You know, they don't have the education because we have people who have been in foster care who have been in 30 different schools. And you know, you can't really function with that kind of lack of preparation.
So what type of programs does Just in Time for Foster Youth have to help the kids?
Well, where we started was just with basic stuff. You know, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you leave foster care, you go into transitional housing, but you don't have a bed to sleep on. You don't have any furniture. You don't have any cooking supplies because you don't have that parent who's kept all those things and gives that to you when you leave to start your new place. So we started out by just providing those basic things so that it's not just the space that young people are in at 18. Then we found out that young people had scholarships to go to college, but they didn't have a laptop. They didn't have a printer. They were moving into the dorm. They don't have that parent bringing those dorm supplies so that they feel like they really belong there and they're supported. So the idea was to be that extended family, give them those resources, and initially it was hoping that they would form some relationship with volunteers. But we've changed that over the last 5 years where the relationships are really the key and the core. That's where the transformation happens, because once you have a relationship, then you're able to leverage that for other resources. And I'm sure that your viewers understand that because they belong to all kinds of groups that help them to make that network and to get those resources and make those that one connection that becomes 6 connections because that connects them to other people. So that's what we try to do for foster youth. It's everything from financial literacy to soft skills for jobs, learning what their strengths are, helping them again to learn how to navigate relationships, because their experience before coming to Just in Time to a large extent was that people are only in my life as long as they're getting paid to be there. Once they're not getting paid anymore, they're gone. And think about going into foster care when you're 4, you're disappointed in your relationship first for your parents because your parents have not done what they were supposed to do, and then you have one disappointment after another. So by the time you leave foster care, relationships are like, I don't even want it to go there. So the volunteers help to change that, because all of our programs, whether it's financial literacy or the Career Horizons for young women, Bridges to Success for young men, all those are driven by volunteers. We only have 14 staff members, but we have about 600 volunteers.
Wow.
And the young people learn over time that this person is in my life because they want to be, not because they're getting paid to be there. And it changes everything for them.
That shows them the love.
Right.
You know what? I was talking to one of your volunteers, and you probably know Don.
Yeah, right.
He had explained to me that he took a break from a meeting just to talk to one of the kids about what questions to ask when he's getting his car repaired.
Exactly.
To make sure he's not getting taken and he's paying, how to negotiate with that. And, I think Don was able to save him a couple $100 just from that, but it made all the difference in the world.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of what we have and what our model is, because it's creating a community. So when you were growing up, you know, you had your parents who helped with some things. You maybe had an uncle who was the person you went to buy the car. You had the parents of your friends who might have given you that first entry-level job. You had other people you talked to when you had maybe an argument with your girlfriend. So there are all kinds of people in your life, and they all do different things for you. And so we don't just try to provide a mentor for young people. We try to create that healthy foundation so that if you only have one mentor, maybe that person moves away or whatever, now you're back to square one.
You have a whole network of people.
Right, you have a whole network. So it's not a rope to hold on to, but a network, a safety net.
And what type of people are you actually looking for right now?
Well, again, all of our programs are really delivered by volunteers. So it's everything from people who go shopping with our college-bound students for their dorm supplies and their school supplies, and that helps to start a conversation for a relationship. For our financial fitness program, which is where they learn budgeting, they have an asset advisor who has some financial background, not just a person reading from a book. That person helps them figure out their budget, what do they want to save for, and then the young person's able to save over time where they can match for $250, and then after a period of time, $500, $750, $1,000, $2,000, where they can end up matching for $4,500. But they match for an asset. It's not to buy a TV. I want to study abroad, so I'm going to save for that. Or there's some medical things I need to take care of, so I'm going to save for that. So it's that asset advisor helps them to figure things out.
Don, thank you so much for joining us today. This is great information. If you would like to help Just in Time for Foster Youth, whether it's just being a volunteer to give your knowledge or donate money, you're going to see a phone number at the screen. You're going to see information on Just in Time for Foster Youth. Go check it out. They're doing some wonderful things. We'll be back in just a few moments. Stick with us. Hello. Last week on USA Today, they had an article about how boomers are selling their nest eggs and downsizing their house. It's a wonderful article, and you're going to see this wonderful picture of a Getty image there. But here's 4 things that you really want to look at if you're considering this downsizing. 1, taxes. First of all, your personal taxes if you sell your home. Secondly, you know what? Property taxes are different from state to state as well as state taxes. So for example, if you move to Oregon, hey, you won't have to pay any property taxes, but you'll have excise taxes on food, alcohol, cigarettes, lodging, the whole shot. So you want to make sure you understand what the true impact of your move is going to be. Secondly, healthcare. Healthcare changes in cost and service when you move from one region to the next. So you want to make sure you have good doctors and good specialists that are available for you when you need it. Third, you want to look at transit. A lot of times when people move to downsize, they go from 2 cars to 1. Sure, you're going to save money when it comes to maintenance, car payments, and insurance, but you want to take a look at your need to get around. You want to be in a place that has some transportation there. And fourth, you want to take a look at utilities, electricity, gas, the whole shot. Like if you're in California, your utilities are going to go up. In other states, they'll probably go down. So you want to make sure you understand how that works. As for today's show, we had a wonderful show. Eran Sinai showed us or talked to us about all those scams that are affecting seniors. You want to go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website to get that one. Jonathan Jerotz talked to us about how to qualify for a loan or a mortgage in retirement. And third, Don Wells, Executive Director for Just in Time for Foster Youth. It's a great, great organization. That's it for the show. Thanks for being with us. And next week, we'll have Jeffrey Lehman, Emmy Award-winning PBS Explorer with his trip down the Amazon. You don't want to miss it. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.